Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. Today I have a shade guide video, and it's not going to cover exactly everything because shade is a very straightforward class. It's kind of like DS in the beginnings where it's pretty much the same attack, it's just getting improved on with every single job you get, with every single job advancement. So I'm only going to go over the very important skills on the jobs that are 1 through 3, and 4 I will explain in more detail because you'll never use any of your skills, like attacking skills, only passives and some active skills from 3rd job and below. So I'm only going to explain those 3 in very quick session. It's not going to be too detailed, only a couple skills, but everything else after that I'm going to go into detail. So more recently I've been getting asked a lot of questions about, oh, what's all this pink stuff and what's this purple stuff coming out of my shade or being something with my shade and all these AoEs and things like that, or you know, how do I do this shade, or how are you doing that, and things like that. It's just been in MapleStory and on my YouTube channel, comments I get, and this is kind of to inform all those people who want to play shade and people who are already playing shade but don't know how to get the most out of him or the most out of the class, or don't know how to do certain aspects of his class or how his utilities work, because shade is a very utility heavy class. It's not like some classes where all you do is rely on your buffs and that's kind of pretty much it. Shade, you kind of just rely on your skills in 4th job and some in 3rd job that help you max out your DPS and also dish out extra damage and all these other things. It's all these other good things that you're missing out. So you lose out on buffs, but you gain on a lot of very neat passives and really good utility skills. So let's get started. So we're gonna start with the first dot before 1st job. So you're gonna get a skill called Foxtrot. Personally, I don't use this. What this does, it will teleport you. It will send you randomly teleport to a different spot. Usually it tends to teleport you in a direction that you're walking. If you just press it, it's the direction you're facing. And the thing is that it's not very reliable because you'll end up walking, or you want to climb up somewhere. That's the only time it's ever reliable. You need to get somewhere really high, use it, and you'll get teleported there automatically. But if you're bossing, I get mixed reviews about it. Some people who play shade tell me that it's really useful. For me, I usually end up getting killed because I'll teleport, and I'll teleport in a really awkward spot like in Vellum, and I'll teleport in front of a tail or something like that, and it's really annoying. But so I don't really use this skill, but you can practice with this skill. When I started playing, I didn't really like it, so I never really put too much into it, and I don't really think it's that useful of a skill for me. But you know, everyone's different, their playstyle's different. And now we're gonna get to the next really big thing from the lower levels. Like I said, the passives are really pretty much the more important things in the lower levels, and that's Spirit Bond Max. You're gonna get a Spirit Bond 1. You're gonna get a Spirit Bond in every single job in this class. So this Spirit Bond 1, it makes you recover 1% HP on hit, and your chance of permanently increasing power stance 100%. We don't really understand that because like you're pretty much 100% stance all the time. And this is really cool because whenever you attack, you're always gaining HP, and this is really good for bossing. Like there's lots of classes out there, like, oh, I should say bosses, like when you go do HMAG or something like that, or Vellum, HMAG, anything that has a pot lock, meaning that you can't not use your pots consecutively. You use one pot regardless if it's HP or if it's strength or all cures. You can only use it at a certain amount of time, and after that you're on cooldown for God knows. Every single boss is different, but this helps out a lot with that. The more you attack, the more HP you gain, and the more DPS you get, the more HP you get back. And it's 1% seems really low, but Shade can get his DPS pretty high up there sometimes. Not only that, but I'll cover another skill that stacks with this one that will help you survive when you're doing bosses. And this is one of the first really big utility skills that's already passive, no actives. All you gotta do is just attack, which is really great. So let's go over to number 1. So like I said, Shade is a very forward forward class. He literally only gets 1 attack, maybe 2 attacks per job, and all this is just your basic attack. This attack will just keep on getting improved on with every job. Like I say, it's very straightforward. You're not gonna do much. So this is your flash jump. Obviously everyone gets a flash jump now, and this is your passive. Pretty much all you need to know is that Shade is pretty much the paladin of pirates. Can tank a ton of damage, can survive a lot of one hits, and he can just pretty much duke it out and just be in the fight a lot longer than a lot of classes can, or just be like face to face a lot more than a lot of classes can. Pretty much you're up front all the time, and pretty much a lot of your passives are going to be defensive or HP wise or regaining health and things like that. That's kind of what Shade is all about, utility. He's great at just bossing, in my opinion, like a paladin, very much self-sustaining at a boss fight. You don't really need to worry too much about taking too much damage because you're already taking a lot of reduced damage anyways. So let's go on to the second job. So like I said, it just keeps on improving on your skills. This is more of a AoE kind of attack. Sadly, you can't move and use this, so you have to actually just walk around and do that. That's kind of the really bad thing about Shade, is that you have to just just go to every area that you need to attack and hit. These skills are also very cool. These are the imp skills, and what they do is that they drag enemies towards you. This one drags them in front of you, back to you. This one drags them from above you, down to you, and this one from behind to front. And I wish they did something more with these skills. I'm not sure. I feel like the cooldowns kind of killed it for me. There's not very much utility to them. Maybe with this class, with this job, specifically the second job, because you have very low mobility. So you're gonna have to like bring them to you, ground pound, bring them down, ground pound, and that's it. But I can't find very much use for them, especially at the point where I am, where I can one hit everything, where it doesn't really matter whether I bring them to me or not, because I could just use my main mobbing attack to do that. And these will probably help if you're on the lower levels. You can just drag them to you and use your ground and pound skill. But anyways, those aren't really important, because pretty much once you get out of this job, you're never gonna use these, trust me. I have them mapped on my things just in case I want to troll somebody and pull like enemies down and get them hurt a little bit. Like when we used to train at SDH, I can literally bring up the enemies from the platform, from the ground to the platform using this skill. It was really messed up, but hey, it was pretty funny, not gonna lie. So the next skill we're talking about, this is the best skill, probably one of the best skills Shade's had. Shade, like I said, he's kind of like a paladin. He's really slow, no mobility, attacks very slow. But this skill changes the game for him. Pretty much what this does, it lets you backstep, just like it says, but you'll just dash instantly. Dash, and there's a small delay, like a second, that you can use before using it again. But the good thing about this is it also cancels animations. So you're gonna attack, you can just leave away. You're about to get hit, you need to attack, get away. Or you need to get away real fast, if Willem's taking a breath, just keep backstepping, and you get out of there. It's really good too, because if you cancel the animation, your hit still counts. At least with this class it does. Some classes you can do animation canceling, but the hits don't register, but with Shade it does. And this is probably my favorite skill from Shade. Like, it's so useful. It makes Skolix the easiest things. Just attack one side, and then he's about to attack, so turn, backstep, turn. He's gonna do it again, backstep, turn, attack, backstep, turn. Same thing with Vellum. His tails are coming up, backstep. Your reach is really far, so it doesn't really matter. Tails coming up again, backstep, backstep. You can also get a quick hit in there before you're about to backstep to just register before you go. And there you go. The next one is Knuckle Mastery. Pretty basic passives, but like I said, Spirit Bonds are the most important ones. Spirit Bond, max speed, increased attack speed +1. Because as you can tell, he was really slow when I was attacking like this. He was even slower before. And then the next skills that are really important to you, which is your fox spirits or your fox balls. They turned this recently, maybe a couple months back. All these skills, I think almost all classes have this now, and it's kind of like an AoE skill where when you attack, you have a chance to proc a kind of like these things that spawn from you and attack with you, and kind of like Nightwalker's bats and things like that, but the spawn rate is a lot lower. So what you do nowadays is you have to toggle it. And what that means is that you have to press the button to turn it on and turn it off. Turn it on, and once you attack, you will get these little foxes that will come around and attack with you. And they don't proc really often, and you can set them to proc more often later with using hyper skills, but I'll get to that later. So these really help out maxing out your DPS, especially at the very end, and I'm not gonna go too much into it right now because 4th job is when it really starts to matter the most when it comes to bossing and things like that. So this skill, very important. Remember to always have this map somewhere and you can toggle it. So now we're going to talk about 3rd job. 3rd job, shockwave punch. You see a lot of hits in there. And this is what I'm talking about with Shade, that he has a lot of utility. So this is when things start to get interesting. Let me move to a better area suited to use these skills to make more sense of what's going on here. We're back to a more adequate place to be to show off these skills, and while I'm here, I might as well show off what the Fox Spirits look like. There you go. They proc here and there. They don't proc too often, but they ricochet twice, if I remember correctly. Once, yeah, twice. So they just help out with your DPS overall. And I'm also gonna show off the imp skills. They pull things to you, but I'm killing them while I'm doing it, so it's not really gonna show too much. Literally will drag anything to you exactly where you're standing. Right now, if you have a higher range, you can literally just stand in one spot and kill everything by just spamming them around. But I'm imagining that at that level you don't have the range to do that, so it's not really that useful. But I guess you can stand in one spot and bring everything to you and start using your skill to crush them down, since you have no mobility at that point. And also, when I was talking about Foxtrot, like I said, will teleport you to a random spot. If you just jump, it'll take you up, which is really useful, I guess, in a sense. But other than that, I wouldn't really use it because backstep can do the exact same thing a lot more consistently. Just jump, there you go, jump, there you go, jump. And if you can't reach it, just then you can, I guess you could start using Foxtrot. But personally, backstep is just too much of amazing mobility skill to even bother with Foxtrot, in my opinion. Alright, so let's go into the 3rd job skills. So the first one you're gonna get is Shockwave Punch. Shockwave Punch is a smaller version of your 4th job skill, which I will show in a bit. And what's really interesting about this skill is that it has numbers of hits, right? And then shockwave. So every hit, the more hits you do with this skill, the more damage you're gonna do over time. And not only that, but the damage and the length of the skill gets further and further out with every single punch. And let me move channels before, because this kinda here, trying to farm. So let me map this real fast so I can show you what this is like. So I really enjoyed this skill. This is when things start to speed up for Shade, because he can actually just sit in one spot and take out the whole map, because the shockwave, if the last punch connects, will go to the very end of platforms. And if you don't connect, it won't go out. So in this example, if I kill these two, it won't extend, as you don't see the shockwave at the end. But if there's lots of mobs on the platform, you can literally just take out the whole end like that. It literally hits all the way to the end of the animation, so that's really great. But the thing is that it requires a lot of mobs to be on the platform, so you can literally just stand, and then if it connects, then you will literally just take out the whole platform. It's kind of hard for me to get this right now, because for some reason I just can't get enough mobs to spawn for it to be effective. But there you go, you see it reached the very end. It's really hard to do with very little mobs, but if they do connect, it's great. I love it. I used it at SDH before to train, because you can literally just stand in the middle and I wouldn't one hit them, so I can just keep on connecting hits and it would just go all the way to the very end, and it was amazing. So let's move on to the next skill. The next skill is your next imp skill. I use it over there. It's the one that brings the enemies from behind you to the front. I guess you can also attack multiple platforms, but like I said, it does very little damage. It's not really worth doing. Cooldown of 1 second. The next one is an AoE skill. You can stand there. It's kind of like Tempest, and it's a hold skill. And this will increase the procs of your fox spirits. I don't really use this skill too often just because it's so ineffective compared to your 4th job skill, but I guess you can use it during 3rd job. And there's not really much to say about that. It just makes your things proc more faster, and I guess a little bit more mob control, but Shade will get a lot more mob control in 4th job, trust me. So this is when things start to get really interesting. Your first utility skill. This is a bind. It lasts 20 seconds and it will only work on mobs that are not immobile, so anything that moves. So you cannot, with the exception of Horntail, so you cannot bind Zokum, you cannot bind Golux, you cannot bind anything that just stays in one spot. If they're dynamic, then you can bind them. And the only people who are dynamic that you can't bind are RA mobs, so keep that in mind. Any boss from Root Abyss you can't bind. You can't bind Zokum, you can't bind Golux, and you can't bind I'm pretty sure I'm missing another one, but pretty much any boss that's stagnant you can't bind except for Horntail. This bind used to be the longest bind in the game. It used to be 30 seconds or 25 seconds. I don't remember. But what it will do is that it will literally trap somebody in there and you get free hits. And originally when I saw this, when I first started playing the game, I was like, what the hell is this? What's the use of this? I guess I can escape if I need to and hit them. But it really becomes amazing once you get to bossing. And it lasts quite a long time, and it's still one of the longer binds in the game. It's tied with another one, but I still think it's more useful in my opinion. And I will show you what it looks like on a boss in a second once I go cover 4th job. So we're gonna get Spirit Bond 3, which, like I said, these are really important. You're gonna get 20% extra damage, 20 more attack permanently, and these just keep on getting passively. So these Spirit Bombs are kind of like buffs, except they turn them into passives. Like I said, Shade is a very utility heavy class, and by doing this they can literally just save you the time and effort of buffing. These two are passives, and this is a toggle. This is something from my LGR, so this is something you won't have, but all you do is just toggle that, put on Maple Warrior, and then you're set to go. You're ready to go. If you die, you don't have to go into the corner and buff for 30 years or anything like that, or be scared to die. All you gotta do is just bam, there you go, go ham. And even then your range won't change too much because Maple Warrior only does so much for you. So you can literally just, when you die, you can just keep on attacking, and whenever you feel free you can just use Maple Warrior. Now that you can use it just moving, it doesn't really affect you. You can just spawn, use it, you're set to go. So Hammer's defense, more defense, elemental resistance. Like I said, Shades are pretty much the paladins of pirates. Essentially, even their skills are pretty similar. The same amount of lines and everything. So this is another passive skill called Summon Another Spirit. What this does, this allows you to take a one-hit KO. And you gotta remember, this is like every single time. So this is a definite second life. So you can be hit one hit, and you will have this orb around you, and you'll summon this spirit, like this animation you're seeing, and it will hit everything in the area for 450% damage 4 times, and you'll be invulnerable for 3 seconds. You'll have a sphere around you that will protect you from any incoming damage, allowing you to rebuff or do whatever you want, get out the way, and things like that. That is a really long cooldown, so don't worry about it too much. You'll have a second one in the form of a link skill, and it's called Close Call, which is essentially the same thing, except that it's not always. This is a permanent second chance, so if you die, you get spawned, resummoned immediately with health, and you attack and invulnerability for a couple seconds. And this supposedly has a 10% chance to proc, but it should procs all the time for me. and this will allow you to take another one hit. So essentially you have 2 anti one hit skills. You can literally survive 2 one hit skills. For most shades and most people, this thing procs all the fucking time, so don't worry too much about it, but don't rely on it too much. If you see that this went off, you still have this, but doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna go off. Then you have weaken. Weaken is an amazing skill. What that does is that it increases your damage when these enemies are effective. So if I punch these guys, I don't think they're gonna get it because okay, they die, but you'll see that they'll have these orbs around their head, meaning that they've been affected by weaken, allowing you to do 20% more damage, which is huge. So now let's go on to the very amazing 4th job. So like I said, bomb punch. Earlier they had shockwave punch, which was this. This is the big version of that. Literally just the biggest fucking attack in the fucking class. Literally could just jump around and just hit shit. It's your mobbing skill. Before it was pretty much useless. It was so slow and it did so little damage that there was no point in using it. But now they bumped it up by a lot. Even the first hit does 300% to 8 enemies, and it does 3 lines of attack. And every hit just keeps getting stronger and stronger, and bigger and more damage. And not only that, if they survive the attacks, they'll get stunned for 2 seconds, allowing you to just fuck them up as long as they live. And your DPS is fucking high, and like with this skill, literally just destroy maps. Like Shade, I think Shade has one of the easiest times training in my opinion. If you get strong enough to use this skill, all you gotta do is just jump around and kill shit. Literally, when I train, that's all I do: jump around and just use this skill and spam it. And you don't have to keep on tapping it. You literally can just hold it. You can literally just turn to cancel the animation. It's really useful and it's super fast. And then with your hyper skill, which I'll go over in a bit, makes it even more impressive. So let's go over your next skill. This is your main attacking skill. This is your bossing skill. This is a skill that affects a lot of things. Like I said, it's very much like Paladin's Blast. You use it and it does 8 lines of attack. You can add 1 line to it using hyper skills, which I would highly recommend. Doing 9 lines of 380% is amazing. Not only that, it can hit 3 mobs at one time, making bosses like Horntail and Vellum a lot easier, because if you can only target one, it would focus only on one area, and in Vellum that could be a real big problem because you might focus on a tail without wanting to focus on that tail, meaning you have to move in closer and closer. But with Shade, you don't have to worry about that. You can just hit in the general direction of Vellum and you will definitely hit that man or snake thing, worm, demon, specimen thing. So like I said earlier, that there is a skill that will stack with your passive of healing 1 HP per attack. 1% HP, which is Death Mark. Death Mark is a dot, a damage over time, and what this does, it used to do 100% damage. So let me explain this. So what this does, it'll hit one mob real hard. And let me go to a boss to show you real quick what I mean by that. Let's go to Fight for Odds 1, and I'll show you what this does. It's amazing. So like I said, you can literally just jump around and spam bomb punch and backstab, and that's all you gotta do. Just in the general direction of your enemies and just proceed to destroy their lives, and that's pretty much all you do as Shade. So like I said, Death Mark does a ton of damage, 3 lines of a ton of damage, and you see that mark on her head, that's a dot. And the amount of damage you're doing with that dot, you get healed back for a certain amount of time. And you see I just took that damage, I'm getting healed constantly. The duration is 15 seconds. So literally, if you're like getting really low on HP, like you're on potluck, just use the skill and you'll just regen a bunch of HP while you're attacking, so don't worry too much about taking damage. And while you're attacking at the same time, you keep on regenning, so that's always great. And I'm also going to show you what that looks like once her DR goes away. I'll let these people hit me for a little bit, just so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not taking any damage, sadly. Okay, there we go. I attack. You see I'm gaining HP. You gain quite a generous amount of HP per attack. So literally, if you're low on HP, just stack those two together and you'll be fine. You'll be golden. And by the time those things are gone, you'll have your pots back, and you can just keep on repeating the cycle over and over and over again. So the next utility skill we have here is called Soul Splitter. Soul Splitter is an amazing skill, and there's a lot of text to this. So let me just break this down for you. So this is a single attack, and it does 2,000 damage. It does a crap ton of damage. But don't let that damage be the main reason you use this. So what this does is when you hit them, it'll shoot a huge fire blast at them. And this fire will do 2,000% damage. What ends up happening, like it says, non-stationary enemies. So any boss that's not stationary, like I said earlier, you can use this skill on. What it ends up doing is that it'll split the enemy in two. One being the soul and one being the actual enemy or boss. So what this does is that it will make the bosses into two different spirits, allowing you to hit double the DPS you were originally hitting. So remember when I was mentioning that you can do spirit 9 times? Well, now you're doing that 18 times. And if you put your dot on top of that, now you're doing a dot over time with the 18 lines you're doing, with the fox boss that you're hitting, and then the AoEs you're gonna get from your hyper skill, which I'll explain in a second. So and after that, you have Maple Warrior standard, 15% all stat. Then you have Spirit Ward, which is an amazing skill. So Shade has the benefit of having Hero's Will, which pretty much takes away any kind of weird abnormal status, but he also has Spirit Ward, which prevents that from him. So let's say that you're gonna go into HMAG and you see the gas. If you have this activated, you won't get affected by the gas, or you won't get affected by the fire of Chaos Queen, or you won't get affected by any weird things. It's kind of like 3 scapegoats. So you have 3 chances to take 1 hit damage, or take a ton of damage and don't get affected by it at all, or take any kind of debuffs and things like that. Not only will it remove the debuffs, it will also nullify anything that's coming to you. So it's really amazing. Every minute you can use this, and then when you use your hyper, it will literally be spammed all the fucking time. So then you get Fox Spirit Max. All it does, it increases the summon chance by 20% and the damage, and the number of attacks repeats 3 times. This, I already explained this. Allows you to take away any kind of abnormal status effect. Spirit Bomb 4, which is amazing. 30% ignore defense and 30% boss damage, which is amazing. Like Shade starts off with a ton of boss damage, by the way. Starts off with 60, which is a lot. High quality knuckle mastery, min crit, max crit, and critical damage 10%. Mostly because Shade doesn't have any skill like buffs, so this is really great. This is another amazing skill. So Shade has one of the lowest crit chances in the game. I think if without using hyper skills, the max you max out is 45 or something like that. Without adding any extra, you end up with really low, under 40 or 45. But what this does is when your enemy gets below 50, you will hit your crit rate will be increased by 90%, meaning that once you get to half HP, regardless of your crit rate, you're gonna be 100% crit rate permanently. So you're never gonna have non-crits. You're always gonna be hitting crits all the time. And if you get to a certain range, pretty much meaning you're gonna be capping all the time. So which is really great. It also increases your crit rate by 15%. So now that I've covered all this, and I didn't really explain to you how this matters, I'm gonna go to a boss. But before that, I'm gonna explain the hyper skills and how to stack properly. So, like I said, with hyper skills, if you don't know what they are, what these things are, is that they'll add bonuses to your current attacks. For the most part, it'll always go to your 4th job attacks because those are the ones that matter the most. I would highly recommend putting them all into Spirit Claw, all the Spirit Claw ones, and then the damage for Bomb Punch, and then the crit chance. But it's totally up to you. You can, like I said, you can add more hits on the Spock Spirits. You can make them do more damage or proc more by 10%. But these matter the most. 20% extra damage to bosses, 20% damage overall, and then 1 extra line, which is amazing. To me, equaling 9 lines. So now you're gonna get these skills. So Spirit Incarnation, that is your 150 skill. No, your 170 hyper skill. I forgot what level they are, but you know what I'm talking about. 170 or 160. I'm pretty sure it's 170. But what this does is that this will make you into a huge spirit, which attacks the whole map. It's really effective at lower levels, but when you get to a higher range, Bomb Punch does it a lot more efficiently. This will become more useful in 5th job because I'll explain that later. But you can stack this while you're doing everything else. Heroic Memories, which is pretty much Epic Adventure, and all the classes get that 10% extra damage. And yeah, you can pass it on to other hero classes, so you can stack that as a temporary buff. And then this is the grand amazing skill. Well, it's the only other buff you have that really does affect you and can pretty much have an infinite amount of uptime as if you do it right. So Spirit Bond Max is your last Spirit Bond in the Shade class. So what this does, as you can see, it adds a ton of buffs. So there's 2 versions of this. You get the original version and then the enhanced version. Let's go over the regular version first. The regular version, you get 30 seconds of 35% extra damage, 20 extra attack power, 20% extra boss damage, 1 more attack speed, 20% more ignore defense. So that's what the normal one is, right? That is huge. That is a pretty OP buff. But like I said, Shade gets it because he doesn't have other buffs like everyone else. So this kind of is the grand equalizer of Shade. This kind of balances him out overall in the top end. So now let's go into the enhanced version of this. Also, like I said, this will do so much for you. More damage, more attack speed. It's amazing. But the more enhanced version. So I've gotten lots of questions about the AoE things, like I was talking about earlier. The AoE things are things you get from enhancing this skill. And how you enhance this skill is by going to your light bulb and you will find a skill. I don't have it here, but the skill is called the quest. I'm talking about the quest. The quest is called, if I remember correctly, it should be here. It is called Missing Each Other. It is the one. It's the last quest you're gonna get, and this quest will only be activated when you're level 200. So you take this quest, you'll get sent back to Fox Village. You'll talk to Moonbeam for one last time, and she will enhance your Spirit Bond Max. So now, when you use your Spirit Bond Max, you will summon Moonbeam, and what she will do for you is that she will use 3 attacks or 3 skills. One of them being what should be 3. Liver Circle Dance, which is pretty much your Tempest skill, which is this skill right here, where you spin around. She'll use that skill, which is the AoE skill, but her version of it, which does 275%, which is a lot. Or Spirit Frenzy, I should say, which is this. Spirit War, she'll use it consecutively a lot, which is your debuff skill, pretty much what helps you take abnormal statuses and take them away, which will be activated all the time. I guess I could use it right now so you can see what it looks like. Use it, she spawns, and she now summons this skill for me all the time. This is what you look like when you're in this aggro version of Shade. And like I said, it's only 20 seconds, but the more you attack, you'll have a chance to summon these things called livers or livers. I'm not really sure which way you pronounce it, but what this does is that when you attack, you'll have a chance to summon these purple things. and okay, it wore out before I could use it. But you'll summon these purple things, and every time you pick them up, it'll add 5 seconds to your Spirit Bond max, which is huge because that's just a huge buff, right? It's pretty OP. So the more you attack, the more chances you have of summoning them, and the more you collect them, the longer you can stay in that state of just complete destruction. So let me just go and look for a queue so I can show you how to properly stack with Shade and how his utility is so great. So I'll be right back. And I had to get a queue here, so it took a while. And like I said, the most important thing is using your utilities correctly and as much as you can when they're not on cooldown or whenever you need them. And I'm gonna show you how to do that properly. People do it in different orders, and that's fine because it essentially ends up being the same. But what I end up doing when I go into a boss, I usually tend to put my bind down first. So bind is to get the most DPS out of your class, or I guess just the most out of it the way I do it at least. And so where is it? Oh yeah. So you use your bind, which is your spirit trap. Then you use your death mark, or you can soul split first, making your enemy into 2 enemies, doubling your damage. Then death mark, essentially you putting a dot on them twice. So now you have them binded, you have them splitted. Now they're taking a damage over time twice. What do you do now? Remember to have your toggle on to have those fox balls spawn all the time. Then you use your Spirit Bond max, increasing your damage by a lot and your attack speed, summoning Moonbeam, and she will be doing AoE attacks and other things, and giving you the debuff prevention skill, pretty much meaning you're untouchable for those 3, and then you can just keep on casting it after that. And not only that, but you're constantly being healed all the time by attacking and by the death mark by a ton of percent. So you're literally becoming an unkillable fucking up machine. You're fucking everything up. Not only that, now you're doing 18 lines. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like, but also don't forget to use your heroic memories. And if you have speed potions, that's also something good to use, which will make your attack speed a lot higher. So I'm gonna use them right now just for the purpose of showing you what that is. So like I said, we're gonna go in, and the first thing I'm gonna do, let me heal first. So we're gonna go in. So like I said, you want to jump in there and bind him. That's what I do. It's the first thing I do. So, oh my god, I died. Oh, so there you go. That's what that hyper skill looks like. You can take 1 hit, split them, time to use your skill. And you see those purple things coming up. Remember, don't forget to use heroic memories. So now you're doing AoEs, you're stacking up, you're doing a dot, you're doing fox marbles and all this other shit, and livers drop, making your hyper skill a lot longer every single time. And then you go. You kill things, you fuck them up, and you get the most out of your DPS that way. For those couple of seconds, you literally just fuck everything up. And that's how I personally use Shade. And as you can see, I have full health, like I took 0 damage or nothing happened. I got one-shotted, I lived. Fucking Shades, man. So yeah, I guess we can do a couple closing statements to kind of wrap this video up really neatly. I wasn't sure how I wanted to do this video. I mostly wanted to be a more hands-on so you can see exactly what I'm doing. But like I said, Shade is a very straightforward class. You won't really use anything below 4th job when you get to 4th job, because Shade doesn't have any buffs, they're all passives. Like I said, he's a very utility heavy class. He's really good to have in a huge party if you're gonna go kill something that needs to get binded or split it. It's amazing. You get things done so fast. But like I said, Shade is one of those classes where he is not at the top of the DPS charts. So if you're looking to kill things super quick and be just the most fastest boy alive, Shade isn't for you. Shade is not a fast class. Shade can be fast, but only for so long. He is very limited on how fast he can go. But that being said, he's also very, very balanced in that sense, because he's not stupid fast and his attack is really slow. And you can get him really fast, but with all that stuff, all those potions and attack at least +1, AI, and all this other stuff added to Shade, you'll be much way faster with a different class. So that being said, Shade isn't for someone who's trying to be the quickest boy alive, you know, If you want to be the quickest boy alive, you would want to do some things in this game which are illegal, which is macroing and doing blaster and stuff like that, or exploiting something like that. And if you're really looking to be that kind of person, then Shade isn't really for you. Shade is for someone who likes the experience of utility bossing, or just, you know, for me it just feels like bossing is always a really fun thing for me for a really long time, especially at the higher end, because you're like, oh man, these boss fights have to be like 15 minutes long. Like in HMAG, you have to be there for 15 minutes long. So one of the biggest things for HMAG is sustain. You need to be alive for those 15 minutes for it to be even worth it. So Shade does a really good job at that, because you can literally just bind him for a good while and heal himself passively or with the death mark consistently all the time. And it's amazing. You can just keep on going there when your friends need to, or your party members need to kill something really fast. Alright, Shade comes in, bind, split, death mark, and then your whole team can just gang up on them. And this is the great thing about it. Soul Split affects everyone in your party. So imagine if there was like 6 Shades doing 18 lines. That's a fuck ton of lines. That's a fuck ton of damage. And not only that, imagine something else like a Cannoneer. Don't even get started on that. That's a lot of fucking damage being put down. So Shade is a really fun person to have in a party for bossing, and it's just amazing. In my experience, it's been really fun. It's not stale. Like, people think Shade is boring, and to me, he's not boring at all. It's probably because they haven't experienced them to the point that I have yet. But like I said, it's not like Nightwalkers. When I played Nightwalkers, they were fast, yeah, and it was great. You would gain so much HP back from the bats, but if you get hit once hard enough, you're done. That's it. You have 1 res and that's it. But other than that, you're so squishy, and it's such a boring class. But Shade isn't like that for me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys found this informative and helpful. And those who had questions about my hyper skill and why that's being the way it is, I hope that was answered for you guys. And thank you very much. Comment, like, and subscribe.